All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with Kalea. If you've been watching our episodes over the last few weeks, you know we really like to recap what we talked about the week before and reflect on what we discussed, how we put it into action, but really our words of the week and how we applied those to our life. So last week, our words were fun and strength. So Vanessa, how did you do with having more fun?
Pretty good. It's interesting again, like when you put a focus on it, it's great. And I think I needed to choose this word. It's a great time of the year, of course. And so it makes that a little bit easier, but work can be stressful. And if you don't incorporate fun, life's too short not to, right? So for me, it was little things like, we're out for a walk and usually like I'm really careful around our neighbor's sprinklers, and a couple times I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna run right through. And
I love
it's
it.
just like little things like that. Or last Sunday here, I was like, you know what, I'm not having a healthy breakfast today, I'm having apple pie because it looks delicious.
I
And
saw
I'm
that
having,
picture.
yeah, and it was amazing. And just enjoy that on the patio with coffee. And even like just like humor in a work day, or with Chris or anything like that, just to laugh. I think it's awesome,
Yeah.
right? So
Lightening up a little bit,
yes,
not being
it's
so
important.
serious.
That's
I'm
right.
with you.
How did you do with strength?
So strength was a great word. Applied it to a few different areas. I've been doing push-ups every day. So that's one
Love
real
it.
physical strength thing that I've been working on, 25 push-ups
Yeah.
a day.
Okay.
And
That's a good number.
even when I'm feeling tired, that's sort of the thing that has been snapping it back. So I'll do that. Strength in parenting, strength in time management. It's a great word. It can be applied. It's not just physical, but it is a nice
So many
mantra.
areas.
Yeah, it really is sort of a mantra.
Love it. So, so this week, so we're on week 3 of talking about values, right?
Yes.
And how certain values of particular importance to us in our lives, and just taking a look at how that value comes alive, and how our actions align to those. So,
Mhm.
the one that we want to dig into a little bit today is time.
Yeah.
And isn't that an important one? So I think too, for our listeners, we chose the word Kalea, meaning joy and happiness. And what better link to joy and happiness than the value of time? Because really, how we spend our time can create a lot of that in our lives. So we hope that this conversation, in addition to the few others of our past episodes, they're meant to inspire you to take a look at your own values in your life and which ones are important to you, because the ones that we share don't have to be important to you, but just take a look at the ones that are and how your actions are aligning with those every day. So Megan, question for you. What does valuing time mean to you?
Whew, that's kind of a loaded question, really, but I think it's really important. So time, I think, is one of those things you just can't get back. And I think many of our viewers and listeners would agree that time really is probably one of the only constructs that you can't replace. You can't go back. You can't change what you've done in the past. You can only move forward.
Right.
And so when we look back on our lives, do we want to know that we did everything we could and enjoyed the journey, so to speak?
Right.
But along with that, I think that knowing how to manage your time and understanding there are restrictions within that time is also a very important aspect of valuing your time. And I think, we'll get into this a little later on in our conversation and how we manage that. But, I think so often we're encouraged to fill our time 100% as well.
Right.
And valuing time means that might not be a 100% filled part of your life. It's okay to accept that there may be times to do less and there may be times to do more.
Right.
And
Right.
when you value your time, I think you find ways to incorporate all those things of your life.
Mm,
You can plan it, you can organize it, and you can consolidate it to work for
right.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, right? Because everyone has the same number of hours in a day, and how we spend our time. And, I think of the majority of us who are working, we work a lot of those hours away, right? We don't really have a choice, but how we fill up our free time is interesting. And I think it's something we shouldn't judge others on, because
Mm.
that filling up of free time, maybe you may be filling it up, but you also may be just not doing anything. And sometimes that's the best thing we can do for ourselves, is to not fill those gaps, right?
Yeah, and I think that allowing that time to be filled in different ways over the years is also important.
Right.
Um, I often get comments from my circle or my friends saying, how do you fit it all in? Like, there's
Yeah.
this outsider view of someone who's sort of high energy, maybe doing a lot of different things, but it's because we manage the time differently. So personally, I'm not a night owl. Like, I'm in bed by 10.
Right.
So like, I think I talked about that back in self-care.
Mm.
I'm in bed, but I'm also up early. So when you're up early, for example, I can get those things that are more my selfish things. I'd like to, that's sort of
Yeah.
my selfish
The you
category.
time.
The
Yeah.
me time of
Mhm.
things that if my children are awake and I'm responsible for their care, I'm not getting done. Like, I'm
Right.
not going for a run, or I'm not
Reading a
doing my
book, or
workouts, or I can't, yeah, reading a book, it takes a lot more days than it used to.
right. Right.
um, but those things are the quiet activities when the kid, that doesn't, when you're not able to do them during the day.
Sure. Yeah.
But then there's the work, and where you fit the work in, and how do you manage that time to be productive as well as protected, because it's easy
Right.
to give all of your time to other people. And
Mm.
there are people in my life who I've watched do that, and I've vowed that is not
Not to
going to
do
be the
that.
case, for sure.
Not to do that. You have to
Yeah.
be good to yourself too. So
But
why? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna flip it off to you and
Yeah.
ask you why you think we should value our time. So
Yeah.
after sort of introducing the value of time, why do you think it's important we do value it?
Yeah, I think well, I think it's like you said at the beginning, it's a non-renewable resource. We can't get it back. But I think if we value our time, then we tend to not procrastinate, that we don't want to put things off, that we just want to get something done in today, right? Not if we're truly being present. And that's constantly something I'm working on, because I do not do a good job of living in the present time. Then we know that today is the only guarantee, right, that we have. And so what can you get done today, or how can you use the time you have? Because we're blessed to have the today, but we're not guaranteed anything tomorrow. So I think if you value your time, then you don't put things off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I kind of, as you say that, think about our last week's topic of ambition and how that ties into our time, because you know when you're an ambitious person, is that sometimes a trait that might not always come naturally. You're always looking forward sometimes rather than living in
Right.
today. So
Mm,
although you're being productive along the way, are you thinking 5 steps down the road, which is not allowing you to live in the moment,
right.
because you're predicting the next step
And
rather
you
than
want more.
here's today and the rest is going to fall into place. So I think these two values actually complement each other,
They do.
of
Yeah, they've
how do you tie time into your ambition
mm,
while still being productive and enjoying the journey,
yeah,
enjoying your life as well.
that's a
As
challenge.
yeah, yeah. It's
It's a
quite
big one.
an interesting thought, because again, valuing your time also encourages productivity,
Right. Absolutely it does.
right? So being
Absolutely it does.
organized
And
in your time,
efficient and
you're
right.
you're able to work faster and more effectively. But when you say the word procrastination, I'm a classic procrastinator, which is very interesting because I also very much value my time.
So you're a procrastinator because you feel that when you're time crunched or something, that you perform better or you get more
Absolutely.
accomplished. I feel the same way, like in school, or I'd leave things purposely to the last minute just because you feel that fire under you and you're just driven to
Well, it
go
has to be
hard
done,
for it.
right?
Has to get done. Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's also a relief the times you've done those projects ahead of time. There's been a handful of, wow, this is done early. Like this is a
And that's a good
relief.
feeling too.
It is a good feeling. But I don't know whether procrastination can be a positive as well, a positive attribute as well, because you enjoy other things until you have to get that done.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
Like you're
Yeah.
not spending the time concerned about what you have to get done, because you know you will get it done in the time that you
Yes.
need.
And I think as long as you are able to meet deadlines and be respectful of other people's time, like procrastinate. Like it doesn't always have to be a negative. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I think too, for valuing time, it's important because it's all about wellness and taking care of you. And we talked about that and others in your life too. So, I mean, it's how we spend time with people that we care about, and giving all aspects of our life the time that they deserve. Right.
Yeah. And I like that you used the term fun last week for your word, because
Mm.
that's something I've been working on personally as well. Is in word lighten up is sort of how my husband puts it.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
often serious,
Yeah.
but not because I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, but it's just you come by this naturally serious demeanor and you
Right.
forget to just let go
Light. I know.
and
Yeah.
relax. And
Right.
that's part of that wellness that you were talking about, is enjoying the journey and
Mhm.
allow yourself to enjoy the time that you're spending doing different things, right?
Right. And not always thinking ahead. And I struggle with it because, one thing I was going to mention within this question is that if you value time, then you're able to plan your day, right? So sometimes I plan my day too much. Like, for example, I'm going to go for a walk with a friend next week. And I think, we live 5 minutes away from each other, but I was like so adamant to find like a time. I mean, we could have just texted and said, I'll meet you halfway right now, like be a little bit more spontaneous, but everything in my life is so structured and planned. So I feel like you have to plan every minute
Oh,
and
well, I might be good for you.
okay. Because
We
you don't.
complement each other then, because
Yes.
um, I like the scheduling component of time, very important.
Right.
Embracing the spontaneity and not always having it to the minute.
Right.
I'm very good at that.
So you create the time blocks of structure, but not necessarily, every half
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah. So my time block would be, say, paperwork in the morning
Mm-hmm.
before 9 a.m. So that might be 6 till 7. That could be 8 till 9. In that time block could also be, my wellness or run or whatever. But
Okay.
in larger blocks, I sort of get that to-do
Mm.
list. It's almost like the to-do list is within the time block,
I would like within the larger time block, though. I like that idea
because
as well.
to the minute is a bit stressing, I find.
Mm.
It's
Yes.
stressful
Yeah.
to think that, oh, if I'm 10 minutes late, then, and I mean, certainly when it comes to having meetings or you're
Right.
meeting other people, there's a different aspect. But if it's up to you to get that task done and it's a solo mission or a solo productivity,
Mm-hmm.
then shouldn't there be a bit of adaptability in that? Like if you were out for your walk,
Yeah. And you
do
ran
you
into
have to
someone
start
or,
something at 5 because you put it in your calendar, or is that just how you've
right.
mentally prepared?
Right.
So would
Yeah.
you,
Let some flow in there.
yeah, so I have to ask you, if you were to be out, if you had a time block and you weren't meeting anyone, but you had said, I'm going to go start this time block at 5, and you ran
Mhm.
along and you ran into someone along the way who said, let's go grab a coffee, and it would take you another hour. Does that, is that a struggle to give up that hour that you've time blocked for something else? Or would you embrace that to go and just say, yeah, I'll do that later?
Huh. See, and I don't necessarily time block in that way. I know if I have a plan, something like that would throw me off. Even though
Ah,
I'm adaptable, like I
yeah.
do think that I like to see it out a little bit further in advance. So it's something I will work on, right? Just allow some little bit of flow in there. And
But I think that that's so important to share with people, because for two people who value time,
yeah,
we still have differences in how we value that and apply it to our day to day.
Right. Exactly.
You
And
know,
it,
which is unique.
there's so many differences in that. Yeah. And I think, letting our listeners hear that, but, and how we value time, I think it's important to let others in our life know that as well.
Mhm.
Right. So how do you think that you'd allow someone to know your value of time? What are some ways?
I think certainly that letting people know that you do have time restrictions on things as well.
Mhm.
I know constantly saying yes is a habit.
Mhm.
It's easy to say yes,
Yeah.
but it's also protecting that time to letting other people know your time is valuable is, in my opinion, saying no, not right now, or I'm available at this
Right.
time. So something I've learned throughout my career so far is if you plan to meet with someone, it's often a great strategy to give them the time of your availability rather than wait for them to dictate the time. So
Right.
if you want control of that time that you're offering, you can suggest a time that will work
Right.
and keep that time management. And that's not always possible and not always the case,
Mhm.
but it is a strategy to let others know that your schedule may or may not be that flexible.
Mm-hmm. In different times of the year, or if you have a lot going on at work or at home, I think it's important to communicate that to others. And so maybe the question should have been like, how are you signaling to others that your time isn't valuable, right? So it would be
Mm.
like, if you said yes to everything that came your way, feeling like you had to please others versus yourself, then I think that that's not holding up your value of time, right? If
Yeah.
you said yes to every coffee date or yes to every anything that anyone ever wanted, you're not valuing your time.
And you're giving a lot of yourself to others
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
Yeah. So you have to get comfortable with saying no in that regard. And I think too, which I struggle with, is that I get easily distracted. So,
Mm.
and I think to your point about, if something just came out of nowhere and said, you want to go for coffee, like that part of me, I don't I'm not as flexible in that way, because I guess I'm aware of how distracted I could be. So I think interruptions can add up throughout the day. And if you're not focused on the activities and tasks that you're doing at certain times of the day, then time can get eaten away.
Yeah,
Right?
it's strange when you look at sort of all those minutes and that add up, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you are more precise in your day, maybe there's actually more time, even though, like you said, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just how we
Mm-hmm.
spend them is very different. Um, but again, then there's also the learning curves of engaging in activities and productivity mindsets, like that you can take on as a person to be more effective with your time. So I
Right.
listen to an organization podcast, for example, that talks about, even just getting your machines working for you. So if you're walking past your laundry room, put
Yeah.
your laundry in as you walk by, take the 2 minutes then, rather than do 10 loads of laundry in one Sunday afternoon. So
Right.
how do you maximize your time
Be more efficient.
to
And
be more efficient so that
yeah.
when you are distracted, you're not actually giving up as much time because you've gained that back from other places.
Right.
So it's
Right.
sort of, it's like this, it's like managing your household income. You're
Yeah.
ebbing and flowing and
All the time.
looking at time as a currency, and how do you make trade-offs for certain things,
Right.
right?
And it all comes down to what's important to you, right? At that age or stage of your life. And that's why I'm so focused on that. We can't judge others and how they spend their time, because everyone's lives are different and we're all living today differently.
Yes.
So how you spend your time is, you're in control of it. It's up to you.
It's
So
individual.
what you do
Absolutely.
with your free time may be different than mine right now. And it all depends on our stage of life, but yeah. So
Very, very
yeah. But
true.
another way that I think that, we're signaling to people that we don't value time is if we're constantly on call, like 24/7, that, you get a work email at 9 p.m. and you're responding to it right away. Like that shouldn't be acceptable. Like we need to establish those boundaries in our life so that we can time block effectively, and that, yeah, people respect those boundaries.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because for that I completely agree, but I also in my own career have to be available at times that aren't
Right.
traditional. So
Okay.
I get phone calls often 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes this is Saturday, depending on the circumstance, and
Right.
it's not constant. It's client specific depending on
Yeah.
what's going on. But I am available any day of
It,
the week, 7 days
right.
a week. And so, depending on the constructs of your life, but then again, I could have a great free morning in the middle of the week that I
Yeah.
don't have anything planned.
Hmm.
So I think to go back to your individuality of it is if someone in my position wasn't available to someone like yourself who works more of a traditional work week,
Mm.
how does that affect your ability to conduct that transaction? You wouldn't be
Right.
able to.
I wouldn't be able to buy the house. You wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
sell it.
if you were like, Megan, I need to go on Saturday, and I'd be like, nope, I'm off on Saturday. You'd be like, well, when am I supposed to go? Can I go
Right.
Thursday night? Absolutely not. I'm off Thursday. Like,
So time is very interesting, right? Yeah.
time is dependent upon your purpose in your career as well and what you do for work.
Right. Right.
But again, it's not an 8-hour time slot. Like I'm not working for 8-hour blocks. I'm working for intermittent, 2-3 hours here, 2-3 hours there
Yeah.
that add up. So
Right.
understanding the demands and accepting those, because I can't get frustrated that I'm at work on Saturday.
No,
That's part of what
because you had flexibility in other parts of your week.
yeah. But I do protect that time when I go on an actual time vacation.
Mm.
So I have no problem if I'm working with a set of clients or a couple of people say, for these few days, contact this person because I'm unavailable. And that's what I
Right.
think you're talking about on the 24/7 piece
Yeah.
is mark your unavailability. If you're
Yeah.
going on vacation next week, please don't
Yeah.
answer work emails. You are
Try
entitled
not
to
to.
that time. But
Yeah.
no, it's not, but not try. You are
Do it.
on
Yeah.
vacation,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And I mean that, again, that looks different for everyone because people unwind in different ways. And I think,
Mm.
I know we could do a whole other segment on vacation, but to me, like I know people who stress leading up to vacation and stress coming back from vacation because they know they're completely shutting off.
Yeah,
I've never in my working years completely shut off on vacation.
me neither.
Never. And I'm still right. And I'm still able to relax and enjoy and all that. But I honestly feel checking my inbox a couple times a day keeps me in the loop enough that I'm not stressed
When you
leading in
return.
or returning. Right. So
Mhm.
anyway,
I
again, that,
agree with you.
but I have colleagues that completely turn it off and I respect them for doing so. Right.
For sure. And that's maybe the thrill of getting through that inbox is important and you enjoy, maybe you're the type of person who enjoys
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And it's understanding your stressors because time can be stressful as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
I'll tell you, time has never been more stressful when you're trying to get home to get to the bus before your kid gets home.
I bet. Well,
That
yes.
is when a meeting
Honestly.
runs late and you're like, I got to get home.
Well, yes, because like your child needs you.
So that flexibility in time is very specific to what you need to be and where you need
But
to go.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's so important, like setting hard stops and being okay with getting up from a meeting that's running late and saying this is not acceptable, like I need to leave now. And I think in any board meeting or any work setting, like if an hour is the time you blocked for the meeting, stick to that hour. Like
Mm-hmm.
people respect you when
It's
you
so true. I
when you do
listened
that.
in on a meeting the other day, and it was so refreshing that
Mm.
the chair of the meeting was so considerate. And
Yes.
anytime there was a going away from the conversation or someone trailed off to an irrelevant story,
Bring it
they
right
cut
back.
them off and
Yep.
brought them back in a respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh man, there should be courses on this because as a
Yep.
chair, it's your job to roll things out on time.
Yep.
And it's a good skill to have. And it's also as a participant. So there's two seats at the table. If you're
Right.
running the meeting, understand that everyone around the table has dedicated time to be there and they likely have somewhere they need to be. Not,
Yes.
and then secondly, if you're participating, try to be mindful of what you're contributing to that meeting, and is it relevant? Is it serving a purpose?
Do you
Or
need to talk? Yeah.
are you talking to be productive, or are you talking because you have a very anecdotal story that would be really funny to tell with the 5 other people that stay after the meeting?
Right. Before or after the meeting, or share an email, whatever, but how are you contributing to the conversation? And yes, absolutely. Respecting others' time. And that's it.
And
it is.
if by chance you need to communicate to the person you're meeting, let them know that you're running late.
Yes.
And that's happened with us, and that's life. But we're trying to be, respectful that I am running late. I cannot be on the call at this time.
Right.
To be respectful and understand that there's no disrespect happening.
No, that's right.
It's circumstantial.
That's right. I mean, I think that tardiness thing, like if that was a regular thing, obviously, but life happens and you have to be able to accept those things too. It happens to everyone, right? But so how do you think valuing time and cultivating joy and happiness, or living purposely, both, in a personal life and in a work setting, how do you think they go hand in hand?
So I really do think that when you do value your time, you live a very fulfilled life, because you're able to do the things you love, as well as build a good career and add all of the things into your life that you want.
Because you've made the choice, right?
And and choice feels good. Yeah, there's a choice, and you have choices. And when you have choice in your time, you have choice in how you feel.
Right.
And so I think that contributes to living very purposefully, and ultimately your joy, really.
Absolutely.
Like you're able to have more joyful moments.
Well, I think, there's so many people that work all week to get to Friday. And so in our careers, like if you build a career on purpose and if you truly enjoy what you do, like you shouldn't get that sick feeling in your stomach on a Sunday evening that you've got to work on Monday morning, or that you're just living every day to get to Friday. I mean, life is way too short, and there's so much that can happen in life that if you're living like that today, like, what are you doing? You have a choice. So
you do have choice in your time. And if you are in the constructs of a 9 to 5, which many of our listeners likely are, how are you managing that time to eliminate the stressors? And are you making time for those pieces like wellness, friendships, social? Are you on a grind, or are you allowing for some fun, like your word was last week?
Yes, exactly. You need to incorporate that. Yeah. So I think in the personal sense, how we're filling those hours that we don't have certain tasks, that free time. And for some people, it could be watching TV like for 2 hours. For me, it isn't. Like I'd rather read a book or gain new experiences or learn something, expand my knowledge. But that's me. And for other people, they may want to do something else. So
and when we build your life, build your career on purpose. I mean, you do have choices in that career as well. And there are a lot of stories and a lot of amazing transitions of things not fitting anymore. You go through different stages in life, and things might just not fit the same way that they did before. Yeah. And when you value your time, I think you do make choices that accommodate that. And
it's always top of mind.
It is. And if you're in a position that's not allowing you to lead the life that you want, then don't go quit your job tomorrow, but start thinking about, what do you see your life being? And is that adding something? Is that going part-time? I mean, I know a lot of parents who have gone part-time to enjoy certain periods of their kids' lives, and they're planning to go back to work full-time. Sure. They don't want to miss their career, and they don't want to leave their job, but they also want to have a bit more time with their friends and family.
That's right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It has to work for the family unit, or has to work for the individual.
For sure.
Bottom line, really. And so questions, anything to leave our listeners with? I think we may have a couple regarding
I think that the first question we'll leave you with this week would be, if money were no issue, what are the top 3 ways you would spend your time? It's important to know how you love to spend your time and incorporate more of that in your daily life.
That's a great question. I will think about that too. I think a second question that we'll leave you with is, Are there any tasks? So we talked about efficiency. So anything that you do at work or home that could be just pared down, delegated, or maybe not even done. Sometimes we get in habits that we just think we need to do every day that we don't actually need to. So is there anything that could be pared down so that you're making the most of the time that we're given? Yeah. Because it is a gift.
Excellent. So we do welcome you, as always, to participate in our Kalea community over on Facebook, where we post these questions for weekly discussions and have some great contributions from our viewers and listeners and community members. And we're actually going to create a time blocking template for you this week for your summer months. And we'll post that later this week in our Kalea community over on Facebook. So a little worksheet for you.
Little worksheet.
Yeah.
No pressure. Something to use.
All right. Excellent. And so, Vanessa, what's your word of the week?
So I am taking vacation next week. So I have to do version 2.0 of fun.
Awesome.
You can't have vacation without some fun, right? So
no, I expect to see lots of wonderful photos of you on your vacation.
I will post.
And where are you going for your vacation?
So, well, not too far, although we have the Atlantic bubble, but so we're going to spend a week at our cottage in Cape Breton. So
amazing.
Looking forward to that. And hopefully the weather will be just as good as it was this week. And if not, it's going to be still great to be home with family. So
fabulous. I love it. So I think this week, my word is going to be joy.
Oh, I love it. So you're going to live Kalea.
Live Kalea. I am going to be joyful and find those moments of joy.
Yes.
And
I love how you said find the moments, because sometimes joy is there and we just don't see it. It's there though, right? So finding them, acknowledging it.
And taking from you in that fun bubble of having fun also is part of joy, and lightening up, enjoying everything. So fabulous.
Love it. Okay, so again, thank you to everyone who's been listening, following us, engaging with us. We'd love for you to share Coffee with Kalea within your friends and families, your network, your communities. Like, share, leave a comment, both on podcast or YouTube. We know that you're on the go, so happy that we're able to offer our voice on multiple platforms for you to listen in. Remember to subscribe. We have weekly episodes, and we really appreciate you being here with us. We wouldn't be able to have this space without you, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Bye.